You didn't stay silent because you're polite. You stayed silent because being the bigger person is the only way you know how to stay in control. You tell yourself it's grace. It isn't. It's a leash you keep pulling on yourself and calling it patience. Register 4. The only lane open in the whole store. Tuesday, 6:12 in the evening, and the fluorescent light overhead is buzzing that flat electric hum that gets into your teeth. The conveyor belt lurches forward, stops. Forward, stops. A scanner beeps somewhere in the sound of it all like a heart monitor for a room that's already dead. You know that feeling, when you're almost there, 3 items in your hands, the finish line right in front of you, and the world decides, no, not yet. That's where she is, a 45-year-old woman who has managed a retail floor, a household, and 4 other people's schedules all day, and now just wants to pay for 3 things and leave. Watch her closely, because what happens next isn't loud. There's no scene, no raised voice. What happens next is a small, quiet surrender that she will dress up as a virtue for the rest of the night, and she won't even feel it happen. A woman with a half-full cart slides in from the side aisle, angles her body into the gap, sets a gallon of milk on the belt without a word, without a glance, and Lisa's cart stops 2 feet short of the divider. Here's what a normal person does. They say, "I was here first." 4 words. Done. She doesn't say them. Instead, watch her hands. She pulls her cart back 6 inches. 6 inches. She makes room. She actually makes room for the person who just took her spot, like an usher at her own robbery. And then, under her breath, she starts recalculating the entire evening. Dinner, then Michael's laundry, then the eggs for tomorrow, counting the tasks off on her fingers against the cart handle like rosary beads. It's fine, she tells herself. I'm not in a rush. She probably has somewhere to be. She probably has somewhere to be. Do you hear that? She's writing the stranger a permission slip. And the loop tightens. Mentioning it would make her the difficult one, she decides. A real problem would be worth speaking up for. And this is not a real problem. Except it was never about the 2 minutes. There's 1 lane open, so she has to wait either way. The milk, the belt, the line, none of that changes. This was only ever about one thing. Who was next? Who counts? And a stranger just quietly decided it wasn't her. So the silence stops being fear and becomes proof. Proof that she's patient. Proof that she's above it. She files it away with a manager's neatness. But here's the ugly part. She is already furious. The heat is already up the back of her neck. She just needs a safer place to put it than the stranger. Someone who can't fight back. Someone who can't walk away. And her eyes lift, slow and cold, off the line cutter entirely, and land on the cashier. The one person in this whole building contractually obligated to stay. So let's do what she'll never do. Let's open her up on the table and look at why. Here's the story she's telling herself right now, and it's a good one. It's almost airtight. She let it go because kindness costs nothing, because 2 minutes don't matter, because a grown woman does not fight over a grocery line like some feral thing. And besides, Emma might hear about this later, and she wants to be the kind of mother who models grace, who absorbs the small rudeness so nobody else has to feel the friction. The calm one, the steady one, the one who holds. You almost want to give it to her, don't you? It sounds noble. It sounds like maturity. It isn't. It's a receipt she's forging in real time. Because look at what the silence actually buys her. It lets her skip one thing, one specific, terrifying half-second. The half-second where she'd have to say, "I was here first," and then just stand there, exposed, waiting to see if the stranger's face turns, if the eyes roll, if a woman she'll never see again gets to decide out loud that Lisa is overreacting. That's the whole game. Avoiding the confrontation lets her avoid the verdict, the possibility that she could ask for her own place in her own life and be told no anyway. She would rather never ask than risk hearing that no. And that, right there, is not a 2-minute problem. That's the problem she's been paying on for 30 years. Because this is the same woman who never tells Robert what she actually wants for her own birthday. The same woman who swallows the sentence at the dinner table and reheats it as resentment later. The grocery line is just the smallest, cheapest version of a bill she has been quietly settling her whole marriage. Every want, folded up small and filed under, "Fine, it's fine, I'm fine." And you? You already know which line you didn't defend this week, don't you? But here's the part that makes it a cage instead of a wound. She takes all that fury, the fury that belongs to the stranger, and she moves it. She sets it down, gently, precisely, on the cashier. The one who should have said something. The bystander who failed to rescue her. Because blaming the person who can't leave lets her feel wronged without ever having to be brave. And every single time she does this, every time she swallows the sentence and then quietly convicts the rescuer who never came, she's teaching herself the exact same lesson. That no one will ever stand up for her, which is the precise belief she needs to keep building the walls higher. She is proving it to herself, one checkout lane at a time, that being needed is safer than being seen, that the halo is warmer than the truth. She isn't trapped in that cage. She's the one holding the key, checking twice that it's locked. So now she runs the numbers, because that's what she does. She manages. She stands there behind the divider, 3 items in hand, and quietly opens the ledger she keeps on every slight, running the margins on 3 different ways this could go. The first version costs her nothing up front, which is exactly why it's the one she'll pick. She says nothing. She lets the woman go ahead, and she loads the whole evening into the car with her. The story already writing itself for the drive home. By the time she pulls into the driveway, she'll have it polished. The rude stranger, the useless clerk who just stood there, the long-suffering wife who rose above all of it. And she'll tell it to Robert, who won't look up from his phone, and the not listening will only prove the point. The immediate payoff is clean hands and a polished halo, one more night as the martyr who never lost her cool. But the invoice comes later, and it always clears, because the resentment doesn't evaporate, it composts. It turns into that same low hum she carries into every room, and by 8 o'clock, she'll snap at Emma over a glass left unwashed in the sink, a fury that had nothing to do with the girl. The lie she signs on the receipt is that she handled it maturely, when all she really did was reroute the bill onto 2 people who never wronged her. And they pay it, the cashier, quietly written up in Lisa's head for a rescue that was never in her job description, and Emma, who catches the sharp edge she never earned. Or, and she can almost feel this one in her chest, the theatrical version, the heavy sigh, the pointed little comment tossed at the cashier. Some people, right? Loud enough for the stranger to hear, but deniable enough that it isn't really anything. The immediate high is intoxicating, the illusion that she stood up for herself, all the posture of a boundary with none of the exposure. Nobody can turn on her. Nobody can roll their eyes at a sigh. But the slow cost is that she's training herself, one performance at a time, that confrontation is something you do sideways, at a bystander, never to the face of the person who actually took your spot. She's rehearsing the exact passivity she says she hates. The lie is that this counts as courage. And the ones who pay are the cashier, drafted into a war she didn't start, and Lisa, who will mistake that sigh for a spine. And then there's the version she won't let herself hold for more than a second. She looks the woman in the eye and says it, evenly, no shake in it. "Excuse me, I was actually next." And then she just lets the silence sit. There's no comfort in this one at all. No halo, no performance. Just the raw exposure of having asked, out loud, for something small. The delayed cost is the fear itself. 30 years of it. The fear she's managed for everyone else, finally handed back to her own hands. She might even learn the stranger doesn't care. But she'd also learn she survived saying it. The lie she'd have to set down forever is that her silence was ever generosity. And this time, this is the whole reason she flinches. Only Lisa pays. Up front. In full. Instead of billing everyone she loves in tiny installments for the rest of her life. 3 columns. One clean answer she'll never circle. She sets her 3 items on the belt. She says nothing. When her turn finally comes, she'll say, "Thank you so much," to the cashier, in that bright, clipped little voice, the manager's voice. And she won't make eye contact, because eye contact costs more than she has left tonight. The scanner beeps over the silence. Milk, bread. The stranger's coupon booklet slapping wet against the counter. And somewhere behind her flat, tired eyes, the ledger is still open. All 3 columns, the heat still climbing the back of her neck. The simulation is running. She's already picked, hasn't she? You can see it, the same one she picks every single time. So here's the only question that matters. Which version did you rehearse in your head just now, reading this? And which one will you actually pay for tonight?